biggest challenge and also inspirations that you face during the process of writing the book of Kumar Clark's Denita?
Wow, that's a question. That's about 10 questions. The biggest challenge is, I think it's just getting it right, isn't it?
You've got a fire, haven't you?
I think the answer is trying to keep it up to date in terms of what we do every day. Medicine's changing very rapidly. So,
I think I would say the two biggest. One is actually getting down to it. Really saying right now we have to do it because you keep putting things off. And the second thing is to keep it within its limits. In terms of length.
It's getting too long, really.
And we try and cut things out.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is with all the modern stuff coming in, you've got to get rid of the old stuff. So that's quite a challenge to get through.
And what about the inspirations? Your biggest inspiration?
Well, I think our biggest inspiration was really trying to produce a textbook that is easy to read, to make sure that the students become good doctors. That's really what we're doing it for in the end, isn't it?
Yes. And the big inspiration, I think, was the sparked off from the two of us being able to work together, and therefore being able to produce this book.
Because we're totally different, as you probably gathered.
I'm sensible and she is.
I'm the sensible one. He's the. No, I think what I was saying is it's quite nice to have somebody else to do it with, because we both have different views, and you then come to a more sensible approach. We say, well, that's rubbish, and you say, well, that's rubbish. We say, well, okay, what's the best way of doing it? So it's really tossing it around.
Next question is, what are the problems and the biggest challenge that you see in medical education nowadays?
That's you, you're the educator.
I think the first problem is, was that educationists came into medicine and didn't understand medicine. Now we have doctors who are medical educators, right? So they know what the problem is and how to do it. The second problem is that science is being ignored, and I would still like a good dollop of science. In fact, ideally, they should all be graduates, because they've done 3 years science and then they can concentrate on medicine. Also, they're older, so you've got the background of science, and then you can learn in the context of medicine, science does. And I had a third problem, and that is continually educated. So, continually, your CPD should be lifelong. And I think, as Mike said, you're a student all your life.
You didn't mention the subject of cost.
Yes, cost of medical education is high. All right, and there's a chap in India who said that medical education should be possible for everybody. Now the problem is, how do you do that? Now I think if you look, you've got to see who do you want to educate a doctor for, and I think there are different levels. I think you can have a basic doctor for, say, an African village, or somebody who can actually know what's going on with a few diseases that he knows, and then if it's beyond his competence, he should send it on to somebody else. So you could have 2 sets of specialties. One is somebody who knows what is going on in the context of what you want to train. So a lot of people would do that. It'd be less expensive, more amenable for everybody to do. And then say, okay, do we really want this high-powered medicine that you're teaching your students here around the West and so on? Do we really want everybody to be trained like that? Because it's expensive. It costs, I think in England they say 250,000 to train a doctor. I think it's more than that. I think it's really very expensive to charge them. And I suspect here it's just as expensive. So you could say, well, maybe we should think again and have a specialist doctor, a doctor who knows a lot. It doesn't need to be as highly trained as that.
So separated.
Yes, the problem there will be then you get into a two-tier system, which nobody likes. So maybe you have the generalist and then the specialist. The generalist knows up to a certain extent and knows when to call for help. And the specialist who can then do the rest.
No, I think Parveen said it all.
Yeah, but I think the point about constant training medical students is quite a lot.
Okay, so let's go to the last and third question. So, what do you think the most important qualities that medical students should have in order to become a great doctor in society?
Most important
Qualities.
Medical students like me, like us, should have.
I think friendly and a friendly attitude to life, and being able to understand and take part in all aspects of life, and not being a total academic and forgetting how the rest of the world runs. And as Parveen said in the lecture, always have good fun when when you're living, not just when you're seeing patients and doing your work.
Well, I would add compassion, empathy, altruism, and above all, lack of arrogance. Because that's where you really get into trouble with arrogance and never ask for help. So if you don't know something, you must know when to ask for help. And don't feel bad about saying, I don't know. All right, so really, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And as you get older, it gets more difficult. People think you should know. But I think you should know your limitations and work within them. And as I said, you've got to have fun.
Okay. Okay. What actually does society need for a doctor?
What actually?
The society.
Need the most.
Well, I mean, it needs a doctor who knows how to recognize what he can deal with himself there and then on the spot, and what needs urgent medical referral to a specialist centre. Might be one sort of answer.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we try and teach our students is the patient ill? They've got to be able to recognise when the patient is ill and then go on. It sounds very simple, but it's just so you need to know that and really call for help. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And just don't do anything you think might be alright. In other words, don't work beyond your competence.
Any more what?
Additions.
Well, I think there'll be a 9th edition, whether we do it as we've done previous editions, a lot of it on our own, or whether we get a bit more help is still undecided. There'll be a 9th
Give us a break. We just finished the last one.
Okay, that's all for my session.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Yes, of course you may take it. You better be in the middle of it.